My memoir, Charlie and Me, is about my marriage, marriage, and our life together when Charlie Bushinsky became Charles Bronson. Well, actually, I met him when he was Charlie Bushinsky. And along the way, as his career moved along, we eventually changed the last name to Bronson because he got a role in a movie called Drumbeat with Alan Ladd, and he was going to have separate billing on that film. So our agent suggested we change our last name from Bushinsky to Bronson. But getting back to our marriage and how we met, I wanted to be an actress in New York. When I graduated high school, I had no thoughts ever of getting married. And I said to myself, maybe when I'm 25, I want to get married. But not now. I'm headed to New York. I had the lead in our senior play, and I thought being an actress would be perfect for me. Against my family, by the way, when my father said, you should go to college or go to business school because, Harriet, one day you may have to go to work. And I said to me, no, I'm never going to go to work. But anyhow, I talked him into letting me go to this drama school called the Bessie V. Hicks School of Stage, Screen, and Radio. This was 1947, almost 1948. And at that school, I see this student who looks a lot older than the other students. He's very good looking. In fact, he looked like John Garfield, really. And he was looking at me. I was getting some water at the fountain. And I looked at him. And he said, come here. And he sort of pulled me in. And he said, what's your name? And I said, Harriett Tendler. I said, what's yours? He says, Charlie Bushinsky. I said, you look kind of old to be here. He says, well, I'm here on the GI Bill. And he said, I work nights at Freihofer's bakery, sorting rolls. And one thing led to another, and we had a class in stage makeup. So I was putting makeup on his face. Now this is about 6 months into the school. We had sort of been, well, I don't know whether you call it dating. There was no money, and I wasn't going to tell my father, who raised me, what I was doing, because I was sort of, doing this like after school and then going home right afterwards. Putting makeup on Charlie's face, I dropped something on the floor, and while I'm down on the floor, he said something, and I stood up and I said, no. He said, no. I said, you asked me if I was mad at you. I said, no. He said, I asked you if you would marry me. So that was my proposal. And the rest was quite an adventure. Seeing Charlie, he had no career, he had no money. I was seeing someone that was not of the same faith as mine. And my family, meaning my aunts and my uncles and my grandmother and my father, were aghast at the whole thing. I do write extensively about it in Charlie and Me, and what evolved and what happened and how we finally married and came to California with 5 suitcases of Black Umbrella and $250 in cash. That was it. That was in the year of 1949. When we arrived, neither one of us knew anyone, but Charlie went to the Pasadena Playhouse, and I went to work as a sales girl in Pasadena. eventually 5 years later, and we did have a 5-year plan. So our plan was that when Charlie got going career-wise, then I could stop working and we would try to have children, which we did. So life was pretty good. Woody Allen's expression, "The secret of success is showing up," is something I totally believe in. If you have talent and you show up, even though you may feel, well, it's not going to work out, you show up anyhow. Because sometimes showing up to one thing leads to showing up to another thing, may lead to what you want or what would satisfy you. But you have to show up in life. Now, Charlie showed up at everything, every audition. There are a lot of men that I have met after my divorce that were very talented, but refused to audition, or refused this, or refused that, and they never got anywhere, and they did have talent. They didn't get to where they wanted to be, I'll put it that way. But Charlie showed up at every single audition. Even if he didn't get the part, he at least went. And he did a series called Man with a Camera while we were married, and I had to cue him every night, which drove me crazy because, I had small children, I was tired, and he asked me to cue him, which meant read him the lines that come before his lines. So I would say producers and directors and agents all liked Charlie because he always did the right thing. He always was very respectful. He knew his lines, and he showed up. And things rolled along, and before you knew it, he was working a lot, and we were moving, and life was good. So after 18 years, fame and fortune got in the way. And as it does with a lot of people who become famous, they have a lot of temptations, and if they've been married to someone from the very beginning when they had nothing, then they are now on a different level of life, and women become attracted to men who are rich and famous. Movie locations are kind of interesting. A lot of the wives kiss their husbands goodbye before husbands get on the plane to go on the movie location. And then when they're on the location, guess who's there to greet them? Groupies. They swarm, they find out where the movies are being shot, and they just show up, and before you know it, these husbands are having affairs with the groupies. And I can tell you from experience, I've been on these locations, and even if the wife is there and she's not on the actual set all the time, where the trailers are and the husbands are and stuff goes on, well, it looks like I was no exception, although Charlie and I would talk about this, and he knew I was worried about it. He said to me, look, these men, and we're speaking just of men, are either unhappily married or psychologically sick, and I am neither. So that made me feel good. I thought, okay, I don't have to worry about him. Well, I didn't worry. So until, I was hit in the face with it. Now, when Charlie became box office famous, the most bankable actor in the world was in 1975. Charlie was the salt of the earth as far as I was concerned. Life was earnest and life was real to him, and family was important, and he loved me a lot. He told me that many times, and I loved him a lot. So there was nothing to be concerned about. And finally, there was something to be concerned about, and there went our marriage.